you want to be that guy in the gym with the biggest deadlift. But how do you get there and how do you get there fast? Well, that's what I'm going to explain in today's video. Me, myself, I'm not a amazing deadlifter, but I have managed to deadlift 705 pounds, squatted 733. So in comparison to my other lifts, is my deadlift the best? Definitely not. It's probably my worst lift, right? But in most rooms, I will be the biggest deadlifter typically, right? We're just walking in the gym 9 times out of basically 9 times I will have the biggest deadlift, right? We have to go to a seriously like powerlifting gym and go up to people to find out who's got bigger deadlift, right? But so I've gained a thing or two of knowledge about the deadlift. And there's really just like 3 ways, just like how I made this video about the bench. There's really just 3 things that you gotta do to get a big deadlift fast. You know what I'm saying? It's not rocket science on how to grow a bench press. It's not rocket science how to grow a squat. It's not rocket science how to grow a deadlift. It's super simple, right? And the first thing that I would say with the deadlift is get the form correct. Now, you can deadlift 1,000,000 pounds, but it doesn't matter if your back breaks and you never deadlift again. You could get 1,000,000 pounds off the floor. I mean, you'd probably get famous for it, yeah, but if your back breaks, you're done. Like it doesn't matter, right? And that's just saying a conventional deadlift, right? If you're pulling sumo and your hips are you're trying to push your hips out, but your feet are facing forward, and your knees are doing like one of these while you're pulling the bar, and you tear an ACL or something crazy, you'll probably never be deadlifting again, and then you can just give up on the dream. So that's the first part that goes with form. But the second part that really goes with form is you need form to deadlift. The deadlift is nothing more than a leveraged movement. If you see people who deadlift, most people who deadlift like insane ratios of their body weight, they don't look like they could deadlift that much. You look at me, you probably think, yeah, I could probably deadlift more than a 160-pound guy, but I can't for a lot of them. Like Nabil, I was trying to think of his name. Nabil, whatever, if you know him. If you look at me and you look at him, you think like, yeah, I probably got the bigger deadlift for sure. No, I mean, he's pulling 800 pounds, right? He's pulling a whole 100 pounds more than me. Just because simply the deadlift is a leverage movement. And you need to learn your form so you can learn the leverages. That's the first thing I would start with. Just sit down, just do reps, learn the form. Just learn the form, right? There's super complicated ways on how you could learn form. So there's so much to that, right? And I could go over that in another video. But yes, learn the form. That's the first thing. Now when we're coming on number 2 is be smart when deadlifting. This is number one thing that I see people not understand is the deadlift is such a taxing movement on your body that honestly your back is the last thing that I would worry about, right? Right? You could do something horrendous to your back deadlifting. I'm not saying that you can't just absolutely screw up your back deadlifting, because that's absolutely the case. If you're not careful with your back, I mean, I don't even know what could happen. But the amount of injuries people get from deadlift that are not back related is crazy, and people don't even realize this, right? So if you're not training smart, right, if you're not deadlifting smart, you can expect yourself to get an injury, right? This isn't just learning form. You can have perfect form, but if you're constantly ripping max effort deadlifts, you can see your hip tearing. You could see your pelvis getting rotated, right? See, if you're deadlifting sumo and you are pushing your legs directly out and you generate the force trying to push out, and you push one side harder than the other, you can tilt your pelvis. These are like super, super, super small things that people don't like really see, right? Like this pelvis tilt, this would happen over time, over a lot of time. But if you're not letting your body constantly recover from deadlift, you can just see a boatload of injuries coming your way. And a lot of people don't understand that either, that if you're not having healthy hips, quads, low back, hamstrings, whatever, you can be putting a lot of stress on other areas of your body that were healthy before, right? If I have a hamstring tear and I'm going to go do conventional deadlifts, well, the hamstring's a big player, so where's all that power going to come from, right? It's probably going to come from my quad, and that's going to be a lot of power, a lot of effort put on my quad. Is my quad tendon strong enough to handle that? And 9 times out of 10, it's no. And you can deal with quad injuries because your hamstrings were tightened up, or weren't firing the way you wanted. So it's super important that you train, but you train smart on the deadlift. There is no super fast way. I'm sorry, I'll just say it right now. I don't believe there's a super fast way to get a big deadlift other than learning your leverages and giving it time, literally. The two fastest way, that's the two fastest ways. Learn your leverage and then use the leverage, but use it with time. If you deadlift every single day, I'm just telling you, you're going to be weaker. Your deadlift may actually decline because of how much how much it just takes to hit a deadlift, right? But yeah, so we can move on to number 3. And so a lot of it's been about form. It's been about training smart, right? Get a smart program, be smart, stay away from the super heavy stuff all the time. Number 3 is a little bit different, but it's train every muscle related to the deadlift. And basically what that is that's your whole body. The deadlift is basically a full body movement. You may be having lockout issues because, right, a lot of lockout issues happen from hips rising early, right? And that could be a muscle related thing too. But you may literally be having lockout issues just because your lats are underdeveloped, right? You're skipping your pull downs and you're doing more hamstring work, and you're wondering, why is my lockout still not getting there? It's because you're neglecting your back, right? There's so many things that go into the deadlift that people also don't understand. That if your triceps are not tensioned at the bottom, or if your shoulders are not just tucked to your body, if you're not squeezing everything in your body, well, you can see just something going off along the way, right? So a full body movement, like all 3 of the lifts, squat, bench, and deadlift, is all of those are full body movements. I don't care what anybody says. There is no movement in powerlifting that is not a full body movement. The only movement in general that I think isn't a full body movement is really seated bicep curls. I can't think of another exercise that isn't like a full body movement in that sense, right? Because you're going to be doing something with your arms, right? If you have no shoulders, well, there may be a chance that you're not locking out either because your rear delt isn't developing, which isn't allowing you to rotate your shoulders back all the way. That's what I mean by that. Hit your hip work, hit your hamstring work, hit your quad work. Do leg day. You do have to do leg day if you want to deadlift a lot. Look at Danny Grigsby. That's my number 1 example for that. He's got monstrous quads. He's got monstrous hamstrings. Hit your leg day if you want a big deadlift. Hit your low back. If you can find a machine that works your low back, you can find stretches that work your low back, do whatever, but work your low back, work your upper back, work your triceps, work your traps, work your shoulders, work everything, work your biceps, your bicep tendon strong enough to support the pulling. If your bicep tendon is not strong enough, you could see that pulling. You can see how people get bicep injuries when deadlifting, right? Hook grip, conventional or mixed grip, pulling sumo conventional, you can see bicep tears happening no matter what, right? Now, might be a little bit more common one way than the other, but still, they do happen, and a lot of people hinder their deadlift process because they're not hitting all body movements, right? So those are just my 3 big things, right? Learn the form, train smart, get on a program, make it smart, and then worry about hitting every single muscle. And that is the fastest way. I'm telling you, that's the absolute fastest way to blow up your deadlift. There is no speed run on deadlift. This is not like bench where I'd say on bench, you can up the intensity on the bench. I would not recommend that on deadlift just because of how taxing it is. So hopefully you guys can learn something from this video. Hopefully you guys can grow your deadlift. Hopefully I could grow my deadlift. I want to get in the 8s one day. I want to get in the 9s one day. Maybe I could pull a band. So if you like this video, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. If you have a recommendation for a video in the future, go ahead, drop a comment in there too. Somebody left a comment saying maybe you should do this for squat and deadlift. So this is a deadlift version of the video. Maybe I'll do the squat later on. So if you got a recommendation, leave it in the comments below. But Blake went signing out. Peace.